Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. This is the review of EA300 Children's Literature, the level 3 module offered by the Open University. If you haven't already seen it, there is an unboxing video which I will link somewhere around there. I don't know where I'm going to link it because I haven't figured out how to do that yet, but I will link it somewhere. If you watch the unboxing video, it just shows you the materials that I have received, but that is not this video. This video is going to show you materials that I have bought, as well as a review of the module itself now that I have finished it. Sorry, a little bit excited that I'm done now. So, one of the things that was requested from my last video was the extra materials that you have to buy. So what did I buy that was extra? So I don't think, ooh, you can see the stack of books behind me. So, these 4 books are what you'll have seen in the unboxing video. So you have got the study guide, the blue and red readers, and a copy of the Peter Pan play. But we're not going to talk about those, they're in the unboxing. Because it's a literature module, as most of you will know if you've done literature, there are a load of set books that you have to buy. I, in all honesty, did not buy all of them, but I'll go into that as I go through the list. Okay, so for block 1 you're going to need The Northern Lights and Harry Potter the Philosopher's Stone. The idea is behind block 1 is that they're books that you're already familiar with, hence why they're 2 well-known ones. After block 1 you start then going through the module in almost chronological order of the books in children's literature when they appeared. So block 2 was Treasure Island and Little Women. Block 3, your 100 Best Poems, DVD version of Peter Pan. This is also the unit where, the block, sorry, where you refer to the playbook that was given to you. We have, so block 4 is Swallows and Amazons, Tom's Midnight Garden, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, and you also refer back to The Northern Lights and Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone for this block. So, block 5, Voices in the Park and Peter Rabbit. This is actually not the one that's on the list. The set text is actually the little books that you give to children. Ooh, sorry, the book's falling off my lap. But I already had this edition from when I was a child, and because the publishers haven't changed, I just decided to keep on and use this one rather than buying a new book. And finally, block 6, we have Mortal Engines, Junk, The Other Side of Truth, and Coram Boy. So that's all the books that I bought that were on the set list, excluding the Peter Rabbit one, which was not technically the set text, but it did the job. Now on to the additional books that I bought that I thought were very useful. So for more academic texts that were relevant to the module as opposed to sort of, that you could use across, we have Children's Literature by Peter Hunt and Children's Literature by Lucy Pearson. This is the York Notes Companions book. This I would really, really recommend. This had some fantastic little bits of insight and it covers essentially the whole course. This was okay for specific texts. This is a library book, so I wasn't able to annotate this as much. It was okay. It sort of filled in some gaps. It was useful for some bits and pieces. I actually found this more useful in my EMA, so my dissertation parts, at the very end for some of the reference points, but this was the one I used consistently throughout. Now, as I may have explained before, I have never taken a literature module before this. I did creative writing level 2 and level 3 with the OU, but I didn't actually do a literature module, so I had to learn how to be a literature student because I have not done it since GCSE. This was recommended in a tutorial which is Studying English Literature by Tori Young. This was very good. This is aimed at a university student and it's great advice on how to do essays and how to structure and how to answer certain questions. Going back to basics, the AS and A2 English Literature, this is the Let's Study Guide. I loved using Let's Study Guides way back in the day when I was doing GCSE and A-level. This again was very useful for very early on when I wasn't sure of terminology, because this does take it right back. This book is good, but it assumes that you've already gone through this. So this kind of just gave me a little bit of a reminder of what I was meant to know already. And then finally, the one book that they always advise you to read is The Student's Guide to Writing. This is really good if you're not sure about your fluency of language and your punctuation and things like that, so this gives you some ideas as well. And for my final book that I had to buy, it is Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. This is for the EMA. If you choose not to, there's 2 questions. I believe one usually has a set book attached to it, so if you want to do that, then you obviously have to buy the set book, which is what I chose. Okay, so now we've had sort of the book haul portion of this, actually going on to the review of the module. So, first of all, I absolutely love this module. It was a steep learning curve, I'm not going to lie. I had come into this having done creative writing and advanced creative writing with the OU, but I had not touched English literature since GCSE. Hence why I got the A-level books and the university books that you saw. And I struggled. It was, my first essay came back and the mark was just above a pass. It was the lowest mark I've ever received. But that's the way it is. By the time we got to the end, I was getting really good high marks. I just wish I'd kind of had that from the get-go. But hey-ho, it's a learning curve. It's a steep learning curve. There are going to be some of you that will experience a similar learning curve to me, because if you're coming at it from the childhood side of the course rather than the English literature side, I would seriously recommend getting yourself some GCSE and A-level books and just bringing yourself back up to date as to what sort of an ordinary English literature student would be capable of doing and what they've already learnt. What I would say though is I've been told by other people that this is not as difficult as a traditional English literature module because it's interdisciplinary and it's not so much about the literary aspects, and there's a sort of other cultural aspects, which is why it's a common module for the English literature and the childhood studies degree. So just bear that in mind. Okay, and so now we're going to move on to the review portion of this video, which for some of you is the whole reason as to why you've actually turned this on. I was going to do it as a block by block, but quite frankly, I cannot remember back that far. It was far too long ago. If you have any questions about a specific block, by all means, please put them in the comments below and I'll try and answer them for you. But in regards to my review, I've made a list of 5 good things and 3 bad things. I couldn't think of 2 more bad things to even it up. So the good parts about the course. So the first one is that I really enjoyed reading the literature. Some of the books took me a while to get into. The Other Side of Truth and Junk. So my second good thing was my tutor. She was amazing. I loved her enthusiasm for the course and her way of delivering it. She was just brilliant, and when I followed some tips that Chloe Burrows, and I'll link her channel below, if you want, one of the things that she suggested was to contact your tutor and say to them what it is you want out of this course. So I said to her from the outset, I want to achieve this mark, let's get me to that mark, which I don't think we have achieved it, but I'm better off than when I started on my very lowly percentage on the first GMA. We're not going to talk about that. So yeah, so it's great. She was fantastic, absolutely loved her. Which then leads me on to number 3, which are the tutorials. So the OU have changed the system now. You book online to a tutorial. You can have a mixture of online tutorials and face-to-face tutorials, and you can also go on to ones that are within your area when they're like the face-to-face ones, but also you can book onto other ones, which I find fantastic, because there was a face-to-face tutorial with my own tutor, and it was whilst we were away on holiday, so I ended up going on to an online tutorial which was after we got back, and that was brilliant. What I would recommend actually, if you can, is try and do a mixture of tutorials. So do all the ones with your tutor, but if you go on to another tutor's tutorials, you might get some other insights. It's actually, sorry, had to reach behind me there. This book recommendation actually came from a different tutor. So it was in her tutorial as to how I found out about this. So they can be very useful. Number 4 in this module, prep weeks. Some of you are going to be like, why? Isn't that normal? No, not on every module. My last French modules, they never had prep weeks. You were supposed to do the material, do the assignment, and then you were starting the next week's material, which if you have to have an extension, you're already 2-3 weeks behind before you even get, before you even know it. I hated that. At least the couple of times that I had to have an extension for my essays on this module, I only ended up being a week behind. So, it's a blessing having a prep week, it really is, and I loved it. And then the final point is the Facebook group. Now, I know you're supposed to go onto the forums, but let's face it, everyone's on the Facebook group. The Facebook group is amazing. If you have a question about something, stick it on there, and guaranteed there'll be people that will come back straight away and go, yes, I know the answer. And so now moving on to the bad. the Facebook group does appear on there as well. For all the good that Facebook group does, there is some times where you are driven into a blind panic by somebody making a comment that is seemingly innocuous and they don't realise it, but it has you questioning everything you know, and you sort of then have this, you then question yourself, and right before an essay deadline is due in, you do not need that pressure in your life. So yeah. It wasn't helpful to me, because I would doubt what I had done. And that's not to say that they're right and I'm wrong, or I'm right and they're wrong. I needed to be clear on what I was doing and go for it. So the second bad thing is the group work. Now, if you've read the course materials, you'll know that there is a group work assignment that comes up, and it starts at the end of TMA05 and it goes throughout block 6. This is not the best way to have delivered this group work. I like the idea of the assignment, and it's very well explained, it's very clear. However, the timing of it, I think, is all wrong. I think it should be embedded into the module as part of the tasks that you do. So when you go onto like your lovely dashboard, I think it should be on there rather than sort of as and when you want to do it. Because the particular issue I had with my group is that I had an extension on TMA05, and there were members of my group who wanted to get straight on with all of the drafting and all the proposals and everything, which is fine, I get that. But when I'm in the middle of trying to write my essay and I need to contribute to this group, there was too much going on. And this is where I think perhaps it needs a longer timeline to allow for people that are working full-time or have extensions, you know, they have so much going on in their life that they need to be able to do this in little increments rather than all in one go. With that in mind, when it came to TMA06, we were supposed to be using our contributions and other people's contributions in our essay. There were other groups out there that didn't complete their bit in time. They were submitting their contributions on the deadline day of TMA06, which was no good to anybody. And so this is why I think this should actually be brought in a bit earlier, perhaps start it at the beginning of the calendar year, and then sort of everyone's contributions can be in there by the time we come to start writing this essay. And also for those people that need to start their essays a lot earlier, you know, the ones that aren't like me that leave it until sort of we need to do it kind of thing in the calendar, then it's great, it's already in there for them. But yeah, hey ho. But that's just my feelings on the group work. I did feed this back to the OU, so we'll see. It may change, I don't know. And so my final bad point actually is TMA06. I submitted the essay on time, because you don't tend to get extensions with that because it's your last essay before the EMA, and I did not get the marks back for it nor my feedback until the Sunday before my EMA was due in on the Thursday, which is ridiculous, because you're supposed to be using your feedback to make sure that you're doing it right in order for the EMA, and because you can't ask for direct feedback on what you're doing whilst you're writing your EMA, to have the feedback, 4 days beforehand was ridiculous. Now, I appreciate the reason why it was late back was due to unforeseen circumstances, but I had no communication about this. I was finding things out from the Facebook group as to what's going on, because some people had received an email, some people had received their marks back in my tutor group. It wasn't clear what was going on, and that was not acceptable. I'm sorry, it just wasn't. It was good to get feedback from a different tutor though, because a different tutor had to mark my essay, and that I think is a very useful exercise, because I see some students that find out what their tutor wants and they tailor their essays to what their tutor wants, which is great. But if you remember, when you get to your EMA, it's not your tutor that marks it, and there's no point tailoring it exactly to what they want, because if you get stuck in that style, then you may alienate the person that's marking your essay and you may get a lower mark as a result. So it was useful to get feedback from someone else. I just wish I'd had it less than 4 days beforehand, especially as by that point I had pretty much written it, and there was very little that, you know, that everything was there, the structure was there, and, you know, there wasn't a lot I could do had there been any significant suggestions. And so that was it. That was my review of EA300 Children's Literature. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please put them down in the comments below and I will try and answer them for you, as long as I don't infringe on any OU copyright laws. And I will see you again sometime soon. Bye!